Hey everyone, this is Saad Fazal, and this is our fifth course in the learning path for MECM. So today I'm going to discuss the co-management piece, and we're going to go in details. What is the co-management versus cloud-attached, paths to co-management. Now we have a more simplified version of the co-management. We have only two paths to enable co-management, unlike we used to have several. And then finally, we're gonna jump in our enablement phase, where we're gonna prepare and enable the cloud attach and co-management. So let's jump on a TechNet article. I do have everything enabled and functioning. We're gonna break things and we'll make things. And if we run into an issue, then we're gonna go into the troubleshooting mode. So for example, so the co-management is rebranded with cloud attach, even though the co-management and cloud attach are two separate components. Let's jump on a TechNet article here. So what co-management is? So by definition, the co-management is a management to manage and control your endpoint devices by using more than one MDM solution. So for example, if you are a SCCM shop and you introduce Intune to your existing environment, you can distribute the workloads, and workloads can be compliance policy or Windows update policy, right? By using Intune and SCCM side by side. That's called co-management. For example, you're using app deployment method by using SCCM, and compliance policy workload by using Microsoft Intune. And co-management is also a step forward to go to the cloud. For example, if you are on premises and you wanted to bring some cloud functionality to your existing environment without having a major change or introduce any, without having to do any major change toward the client side, you can enable co-management. So that way your end user will not be impacted, but as an admin, you will have more functionalities and features to control your endpoints. So that's called co-management. And today we're going to enable co-management between Intune and SCCM. What is coexistence? Coexistence is a different term. That's between Intune and the third-party MDM. So if you have your devices managed by Intune, and if you have a third-party MDM as well, for example, AirWatch or Mobile Iron, that's called the coexistence. Paths to co-management, there are two simplified. Now it's more simplified version. We have two paths: existing configuration manager clients slash your local domain join clients by using SCCM like traditional on-premises clients. And you have a new devices like a new internet-based clients slash Azure AD join clients. So for example, if you have a Windows 10 domain join machines managed by SCCM and you wanted to enable and manage those devices by using Microsoft Intune as well, that's where the co-management comes into the picture. You enable hybrid Azure AD join piece, which is a part of Azure AD Connect. I'm discussing this scenario number one, where you have the existing Windows 10 clients. So the basic requirements for your existing fleet of devices to the Microsoft Intune world, the first requirement is you have to have a device that is not 100% domain joined, but the device must be the hybrid Azure AD joined. In other words, the device should report to Azure AD as well as local Active Directory. Once the device gets to that point, then you can enable the co-management for your existing fleet of devices. The other scenario is if your device is like roaming around, like a Starbucks scenario. If you're sitting at Starbucks, no connectivity, no line of sight to your on-premises, and your device is 100% Azure AD joined, you can also leverage the co-management for those devices by using Cloud Management Gateway, which I deployed in my fourth course. The Cloud Management Gateway is functioning. I just have to deploy an agent of SCCM by using any MDM solution. In this case, we're going to use Microsoft Intune because those Azure AD joint devices are managed by Microsoft Intune. Scenario number one is most common for those clients who are on-premises shop, like traditional MDM clients, like Windows devices managed by group policy / SCCM. And finally, they signed up for Microsoft Intune service to leverage the cloud functionalities and feature towards the modern management. That's this is most common scenario I have seen so far. Scenario number two is generally for the new businesses and for the businesses who have mix and match scenarios. Excuse me. So for the businesses who has mix and match devices, like on-premises and cloud as well. So that's where they leverage the Cloud Management Gateway, also called CMG, and start managing devices through the CMG. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we have. And another thing is the workloads. So when you enable the co-management offers workloads. And what workloads are? Let me show you. And that's where you decide and make a decision how you want to distribute the workload. So the rule of thumb is once you have the co-management enabled, you have a choice or you have an option to distribute the workload. So once you have co-management enabled, that means you can leverage Intune plus SCCM, both MDM solutions, to manage one device at the same time. So let me take you to my lab here. We're not gonna get into the cloud attach piece at the moment, but I'm gonna show you here. If I show you properties. Okay, so under enablement, under workload, you have we have these workloads available under the co-management. So for example, compliance policy. So I have put the slider for all the workloads to the Microsoft Intune pilot devices. What that means is the group which is scoped for the pilot Intune is only gonna manage by Microsoft Intune, and whoever is not a part of that group will fall back to the configuration manager. And what that group is, if you go into the staging, I'm calling it like only workstations, no servers. That group is assigned for the co-management. So any device which is a part of this group will be managed by Microsoft Intune. Any device which is not a part of this group will be managed by Configuration Manager. You can do, for example, you can keep the compliance policy to Microsoft Intune, and you can do, for example, let's say like a client apps to Configuration Manager. You can do that as well. You don't have to define any group if you take that route. Pilot Intune is basically like if you want to test or roll out the pilot groups and you want to test some users with the Intune, that's a proper route to go. So these are the workloads at the very moment available for co-management, and this list will increase as we introduce more workload. So compliance policies, device configuration, endpoint protection, resource access policies, client apps, Office click to run, and Windows update. I'm gonna hit cancel here. So let's see what else. Okay, so let me discuss the cloud attach. So cloud attach is actually cloud attach is basically like co-management has been rebranded as a cloud attach, but keep in mind co-management and cloud attach are two different components and two different things. What cloud, you can still have a cloud attach while co-management is not enabled in your environment. So basically the concept of cloud attach is if you have an Intune, okay, and the device is not being managed by Intune, right? And the device is 100% managed by SCCM. You can enable the cloud attach, let the device upload to Microsoft Intune, and you can manage some of those workloads from the cloud portal. And what those workloads are, so if I show you here, I have the co-managed device. So this is my hybrid Azure AD joint device, which is the scenario number 1, keep in mind. So if the device is local Active Directory domain, the next step is I have to make that device to the hybrid Azure AD join and then enable the co-management. So that's the scenario number 1. So if I click on this device here, these are those workloads when you enable the cloud attach. So for example, CM pivot, you should be able to manage some of these queries here on Intune portal. For example, if you have SCCM scripts deployed to the device, you can deploy and run those scripts here. You can check timelines, you can check some other details as well. So that's a benefit of, so the concept of having a cloud attach is basically like a centralized repository, or you can say centralized portal to manage SCCM and Intune feature in one place, and that one place is the cloud. I hope I was able to understand the cloud attach piece. And when you enable cloud attach, it registers the app in the Azure portal. That means that you're authorizing Azure Active Directory to upload your on-premises database, on-premises devices database. So that's Azure Active Directory authorizes the application registration. So now enough talking, let's get into the actual deployment steps. So I'm going to break things here and then we'll start from the scratch. But before we do anything, I'll show you one of my clients. Oh, actually, I'll show you later. Let's get into the SCCM here. I'll just delete my co-management piece from here. Okay, so that got deleted. So technically at this moment, I am not co-managed. And you see it from the Azure services that cloud attach is gone. Okay, so if I come back here, I was playing around with this Azure services. Let's see if it's gonna delete this service. Configuration Manager microservice. I'm gonna hit refresh. Okay, that's fine. The services is still there, but okay. All right, so couple of things for, so what we discussed so far is we discussed the definitions, we discussed the cloud attach, and we discussed the path. So preparation steps. So it's very simple to enable co-management, but there are a few preparation steps just to make sure you have those preparation steps ready. I'm just gonna go over the steps that requires for the configuration, not from the SCCM Insight. I'm gonna get into that later. So what you need to do from the Azure side is the first thing first, automatic enrollment. So automatic enrollment must be enabled. So go to portal.azure.com. Mobility MDMMM, Microsoft Intune. You make sure it is set to all, or at least the user scope that is going to be a part of the co-management. So I have this step enabled. So I'm gonna just do like okay. All right, the second step is global admin account. Okay, global admin account for app registration in Azure AD. Let's say cloud attach registration in Azure AD. Third is SCCM admin account to enable co-management within SCCM. Okay, so I have all this ready, and number 4 is enable hybrid Azure AD in Azure AD Connect sync engine. I'll show you how to enable the hybrid Azure AD Connect as well. I have all that ready. So let's start, since we are working on the scenario number 1 first. So let's go with the steps here. So I have the Azure. So how are you gonna enable the hybrid Azure AD Connect here? Click on configure. I think it's under the device options. When you hit next, device option, you can choose 2 options: hybrid Azure AD join or device write back. Okay, so this is how you enable the hybrid Azure AD join here. You choose the hybrid Azure AD join, hit next, the Windows on, and then I'm not gonna enable because I already have it enabled, and configure. Pretty simple. So once you have the hybrid Azure AD join enabled, you make sure that everything is synced properly. And the next thing is okay, so the next thing is to enable the cloud attached / co-management. So you come here under the administration cloud services. If you already have the app created, you can go with the customized settings and import the app here. And you just have to provide the parameters like tenant name, ID, application name, you can get it from the Azure AD app registration section. But I'm going to create the new one. I'm going to sign in with my global admin account here. Okay, for some reason I had to restart the CCM console. It was taking a bit longer. Let's get back to the cloud attach here. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I'm successfully able to log in. Okay, so look what it's saying. This action will register an application in an Azure AD 10 Azure Letter authorize the synchronization of data to Intune. Do you want to continue? Yes. So I'm going to hit yes. So that's the purpose of the cloud tag. What it's going to do, it's going to take your on-premises devices database, in other words, devices objects, to Azure and register them. Either register them, it's going to register an app. So you will see that database populated within an Intune console. So I'm gonna hit yes, let it register the app on Azure AD portal, hit next. So far it's just a cloud attach, nothing related to the co-management. Okay, so that's completed. So cloud attach piece completed. Let's see what we have inside here under the properties. Okay, so I set to all. Okay, so by default it's enable the co-management to all. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna enable this thing to only my pilot group, which is I am calling it only workstation, no servers. And I'm gonna set the workloads. Oh wait, sorry. I'm gonna enable automatic enrollment in Intune to all. What this is going to do is to enable co-management for devices managed by configuration manager, automatic enrollment. So any device that has a user has an Intune license will be automatically enrolled in Microsoft Intune. So I'm gonna go with all here, and under workload, I'm gonna keep all the workloads to pilot Intune at the moment, and will provide this user, sorry, this collection. So tedious task, 1 second. Okay, perfect. So let's review before we hit enable or apply. So we enable the cloud attach. This is the cloud attach piece, and we enable it for all the devices. So any device that is a part of SCCM managed device, we should be able to see that device in Intune with additional properties. And we also enable the endpoint analytic that I'm gonna get into it a little bit later in this video. And under the enablement, that's actual like a true co-management piece. So I chose like automatic enrollment in Intune to all. You can go with the pilot devices as well. Like if you don't want to enroll all of your devices into Intune, you don't want to co-manage devices all the devices at the same time, you can go with the co-managed collection here. But since it's my lab, I don't care. I'm just gonna go with all. This string is important. This string is for scenario number 2. What scenario number 2 is? When you have Azure AD join like 100% cloud only devices, then you need this string, because since I have the cloud management gateway deployed, that's why the string got generated. So I will be using this string a little later to deploy my Intune client, my CCM client, by using Microsoft Intune. I'm just gonna keep it here. And workload I already set to pilot Intune for this group, and whoever the device or the user is not a part of this group will fall back to SCCM automatically. So I'm gonna hit apply. And okay. Okay, so under Azure services, see the cloud attached services back. One thing I have to make sure that my user discovery is enabled in my CMG. This is important for the clients that those are Azure AD joined clients. Okay, that's pretty much. So while I'm gonna wait for things to be provisioned in the backend, I'm gonna show you how to deploy the client for the cloud only devices. So I have the laptop at my desk, which is Azure AD join, has no connectivity to this lab. So so the client which you will need, let me show you where is this client located. So you go to the SCCM server, $C program files, 1 second, configuration manager, bin. Yes, so program files, configuration manager, bin, and I386. This is where you can find a client, and the client which we need is ccm setup.msi file. This is what we need to upload in Microsoft Intune for internet-based client. So since I already did it, I'm going to show you what I did. So I am under the endpoint on Microsoft.com portal, under app sections, Windows, and the one which is, let me filter by that. Okay, so config manager, yeah, this is the one, I guess. Yeah, so I uploaded this MSI file under this. If you can see that the setup.msi file. And this is my command line argument. So I'm gonna just match this thing with what I got from the config man. To make sure I have it correctly set up. Azure Lab Academy 01 ecus.cloudapp.azure.com, Azure Lab Academy 01.ecus.cloudapp.com, and the mutual auth is 720575 940392739. Okay. Yep. Okay, perfect. So I have everything correctly set up. So this is a string, just as the testing, because since it's my lab, I'm gonna delete this string afterwards. But this is what the string looks like. So you have to put the install command here, and no additional things to be configured, and then assign it to the device group. So I'm assigning to the Azure AD joint device group here. Okay, perfect. So let's log on to let's get back to the SCCM server as it's in compliance. devices. Let's pick up one of the device. For example, this one, which is hybrid Azure AD joint device. So I'm gonna jump on one of the devices here. Make it a little bigger. All right. Okay, so there's the device BM4. Let me do ds ranch cmp save status. Okay, so you see that the Azure AD join is set to yes and the main join set to yes. That means it's a hybrid Azure AD join device. Okay, and this device is also managed. Let me get back to that. The device name is BM4. So let me get back to the CCM server to check the status. Here, this is the device. Okay, so it looks like the agent is installed. So let me dig into a little bit. So BM4, let's go back to let's check the control panel here. Configuration manager, and sure enough, the co-management is enabled. So this is how you enable the co-management. I'm not gonna get into the testing like to deploy any workload so far, but as we go along in this MECM learning path, we're gonna distribute the workload. Some of the distribute when we get into the app deployment phase, some of the workload will be by using Microsoft Intune and some will be by SCCM. Okay, so if I take you back,